Alright, this lesson is about post-secondary. I'm doing another lesson about post-secondary because that was an area that we didn't spend a ton of time on, and I think there's a little bit of appetite among some of the students to know a little bit more. So I'm going to share some kind of experience and maybe tips that might help you once you get into post-secondary. So the first thing with post-secondary is that you absolutely need to have self-discipline. Your study habits need to be really good because nobody's going to help you out. Many of the courses are pretty much self-study, self-taught. Yes, there is a professor and that professor will do like lectures, but a lot of professors they don't really care about that, or they're not really good at teaching. And so they just, talk for a while and then expect you to know everything, even some of the things that they didn't talk about. So it's really different from high school, where like in high school, every one of your teachers wants you to succeed and they will help you to succeed. I don't know, maybe it doesn't seem like that way to you, but it really is. Like in high school, we want you to be successful. We want you to do well. And we do everything that we can to help you to do well. And I'm not speaking for all teachers, but I think like a lot of teachers are, if you fall behind, they'll allow you ways to catch up. If you miss an assignment or something, they'll accept it late, all those things. And in university or post-secondary, that is not the case. They couldn't care less if you pass or fail. If you don't do something, then too bad. That's called a 0. So the teachers are not going to look out for you, and so you need to look out for yourself. In university, really, you're just a number, your student number. You're not an actual person. Nobody will know your name. They won't know who you are. And in fact, some first and second year courses, like in a first year course, there may be like 300, 400, 500 students in that course. Nobody's going to learn the names of 500 students, right? And the reason why those courses are so big, so in third and fourth year, the courses get much smaller. Maybe it's less than 100 people, certainly. Maybe only 50 or 40, even less sometimes. And so the function of those first year courses is to actually weed people out. So they're actually, not only do they not want you to succeed, they're actually trying to get rid of the people who are not going to be successful in university. So those first year courses are kind of filters getting rid of certain people. Don't be one of those people. So lots of people get into university and then first year, they don't do well, they fail courses, they end up on academic probation, and then if they keep failing after that, then they're gone. So I know lots of people who that happened to. Don't let that be you. Another thing about self-discipline is that there's a lot more freedom in university. So typically a course, you might have 3 hours of lecture per week. That might be like 1 3-hour block, or that might be 3 1-hour sessions, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. And so you say, oh, it's 3 hours of class, not a big deal. But in fact, those 3 hours of class are just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And you actually, in order to do well, need to spend, for every hour of kind of class time, you need to spend 5, 6, 10 hours on your own studying. So 3 hours of class, but you might need to spend 15 hours of like doing, practice or reading or whatever it is. So the teachers at university, some of them are going to be professors at that university, and some are sessional instructors. There can potentially be problems with both of those types of people. Professors, their main job is research, writing papers, getting kind of new original ideas. For a lot of them, teaching is just kind of this unpleasant task that the university makes them do, and so they get it over with as quick as possible so that they can do their quote-unquote real job. So you can imagine that if that's the case, some of them may not put like all the effort in that you might want to see. For sessional instructors, The problem with them sometimes is that they are paid very little. Because they're paid so poorly, again, they might not do a great job. Typically, the only time when you would be able to talk to a professor or instructor is during what they call office hours, which is a certain time during the week when you can go to their office and ask them questions if you want. Most people don't go, but even if some go, like in a class of 500 people, even if only a few people go, say 5%, 1 out of every 20 people goes, right? That's still 25 people. And so you're lining up, you're like 25th in the line of people to talk to this professor. Each of them takes 3-4 minutes to talk to him. The office hours are only 1 hour or something. And so, maybe you line up for an hour, you don't even get to talk to him. Now there are TAs or teaching assistants. And so usually those are like senior level students, either grad students or maybe 3rd or 4th year students who are helping out that professor. They may be a little bit more accessible, and so you can talk to them. And I would say that even though office hours can be hard, I would say go to the office hours if you have questions, because so few people actually go and make an effort to talk to the professor. If you are one of those people, you might stand out a little bit more. And that can lead to opportunities later on, as well as, understanding the material better or whatever that your question actually was. What do lectures look like? So, like I said, sometimes they're 1 hour, sometimes they're 2 hours, sometimes they're 3 hours. The teacher will come in and just basically talk for an hour. And you have to somehow digest all that information, write it down in notes maybe. Sometimes they'll have PowerPoint, sometimes not. Sometimes they'll just kind of talk, right? But you'll be expected to know everything that they say. Sometimes they will write stuff. So write down their notes as they talk. Maybe more common in say math courses or something like that. But you're in this basically theater, right? With 500 people, you may be sitting far away, and it may be difficult for you to actually see what they're writing on the screen. The screen may be too small or something. Typically, what I've found is that if you go into the lecture without knowing anything about what that prof is going to talk about, you will be totally lost within a couple of minutes, because they'll be there's a lot for them to tell you, and they go quickly. And so before you go into that lecture, you should have done the reading for that lecture. That would be the best way to approach it. When I was going to university, I didn't always do that. And when I didn't do that, definitely I was, often, completely lost, had no idea what they were talking about. Sometimes afterwards, you can go back, and if you took good notes, maybe that starts to make sense, but sometimes it doesn't. So try and do the reading beforehand. Speaking of reading, the amount of reading is really high. So every week or whatever, especially in arts courses, right? Every week you'll be expected to read, a book or two, or several chapters of a textbook or something, hundreds of pages of reading. And as I said, if you didn't do that reading, then the lecture is going to be incomprehensible to you. Sometimes the lecture is pretty useless anyways, they talk about things that are not relevant or something. So you have to kind of figure that out. And as I said before, a lot of it is kind of self-learning, learning from the book or whatever. The nice thing for you is that you have access to a lot more resources than I ever did when I was going to university, because you have the internet. I had the internet too, but there was no YouTube. Now there's a YouTube where there's actual good lecturers or professors talking about all of the things, and you can watch those to kind of supplement. In fact, nowadays I think a lot of professors will post their videos or recordings of their lectures for you to access after the fact. So that could be useful as well. Talking about assignments and exams, sometimes they are high stakes in that sometimes, for example, final exam, that could be worth 50% of your mark, right? So if you, maybe there's 3 questions or something. So if you mess one up, that's a big part of your mark that's just gone. Sometimes even as much as 100% of your mark can be based on the final exam. Depends on the course, of course, and what the professor sets as the marking scheme. In arts courses, typically the amount of writing is pretty high. If you're writing like 10-page papers, 20-page papers, I think once, I can't remember the longest I've had, 25-page paper maybe, something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of writing. Your classmates. So if you're in a competitive program, then all of your classmates will be working at a pretty high level. For me, like when I was in high school, I was a pretty high achieving student. Had mostly A's, maybe some B's. When I went to university, basically I was average, maybe below average, because everyone else was at least as smart as me, and most people were smarter than me. That was something that I was not used to. In high school, I was one of the higher achieving ones, and then university, yeah, average at best. So you'll have to watch out for that, because in university, some of the courses are graded on a curve. And so, they'll take out of 500 students, maybe 50 gets an A, maybe 300 gets a B, and 100 gets a C, and 50 fail, or something like that. And so your mark may not be based on like how you did on the assignments and tests, but it may be based on what your standing is in the class. And so, if everyone is smart, then, you have to work that much harder to make sure that you're not in like the bottom level and try and get into the top, higher levels. In university, of course, there are online courses that you can take. And so it's not so different from VLN, or what you can take online courses in high school as well, but it's totally self-taught, and so you have to be even more self-disciplined than in the regular courses, because there's no one kind of you don't have to go to class every day or twice a week or whatever, and so it's easy for it to kind of fall off and say, I'll do that later, and before you know it, like the course is over and you've failed it because you haven't done it. So yeah, watch out for those. Just kind of more of the same, but just to point out that there's like really no mercy. If you miss a deadline, you will get 0. There's no extensions. There's no like talking to the teacher. I was busy, whatever. No, sorry, 0. You cheat and typically you're expelled, or I don't know if it's expelled, but certainly you will fail that course automatically. Plagiarism or anything like that, and potentially expelled, right? And then, like I said, if you fail too many courses, you'll be put on academic probation and then expelled if you don't kind of shape up. Campus life. Campus life is wonderful. There's lots of clubs. Clubs are a great way to have fun and meet new friends. I joined a bunch of clubs when I was in university. Some of my best times that I remember from university were in those clubs. I certainly don't remember like most of the classes that I was in, but I do remember having fun in the clubs. And there's way more clubs than we have here at Van Tech. There's, I don't know how many, like tons and tons. Every different interest will have a club. And then there's dorm life. So I don't know if you will be living in a dorm or not. I never lived in a dorm, but I visited. I had friends who lived in the dorm and kind of saw what they looked like. I think at SFU, the dorms had two people per room, and then shared bathroom and kitchen. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't look like a lot of fun, to be honest. But yeah, like sometimes you have like big eating halls and everyone kind of hangs out. It's kind of cool, I guess. Definitely a little bit less privacy than if you had your own place, and that's the other kind. It's not considered as a dorm, I don't think, but like on-campus residence, and it's basically apartments. Some of them shared, or some of them are private that you get to yourself, and those are kind of nice. So you are living on campus, so you're not far away, but you still have your own privacy, your own kitchen, your own bathroom, all that stuff. Co-op. So co-op may be your first quote-unquote real job, the one where you're working in the field that you plan to go into. I would recommend going into co-op. It's a great place to make contacts, to network with people, to see what it's like in kind of the real world, add skills to your resume. So there's little reason not to do co-op, to be honest. So definitely recommend that. Just talking a little bit about the universities and post-secondary institutes that I have attended. So I did go to SFU, got my undergrad there. The nice thing about SFU is that they have a lot of flexibility in their scheduling. Basically, you just sign up for whatever course you want. There's no kind of set program. And so I took lots of different courses that, I wasn't in that faculty or anything, but just anybody can take it. The maybe not nice thing is that it's not the most beautiful place. The whole thing is basically made out of concrete, so very gray. And on top of Burnaby Mountain, always kind of snowing there. And so often the buses are not running, so you have to walk down the mountain, and then it's raining at the bottom of the mountain, so then you can pick up a bus and go home or whatever. But yeah, in general, a good school, I think. UBC, so I did my teacher education teaching degree at UBC. Really beautiful campus there, really kind of picturesque. They have kind of more of a campus life vibe. Their student union building is really kind of lots of activities and stuff going on there, so that's a nice thing about UBC. The thing that I don't like as much about UBC is that every faculty has their own building and they're very separated from each other. It's kind of every faculty, every area is their own kind of school. The only place where people really mix is in that student union building. I've been also at BCIT, spent 2 years there getting a diploma in tech ed. In BCIT, I think they make you take more courses than they do in other places. So potentially more work, definitely more hands-on and kind of industry focused. Most of the teachers there are from industry, I believe. People say it is very challenging. I think it is, but it's not as rigorous, I think, as kind of university. It's just a different type of learning. Yeah, so yeah, if you're going to BCIT, also kind of a good option. As I recall, they don't have as many clubs and campus life things as the other universities. I think it's more of a kind of commuter school where you're gonna go there and then go home. There's less residences and dorms and stuff there. So more about just getting those skills that you need to join the workforce and less about university life. Student life. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some ideas about what it's like to be in post-secondary. That's all for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.